I think one, I actually think it's important as a manager of product managers to have a really good sense of what it's like for them to do their day to day job. Like I've seen a lot in the way organizations structure PM managers. Often people will move into management and then not actually do any IC work. So they will not be responsible for any product areas or launching anything. And I have found that it's really helpful for me as a manager of PMs to still be responsible. It's a balancing act, right? Because as soon as I start doing IC work, then it's like less energy and mind share that I can dedicate to the people that I manage. But I find that like for me to be still doing some IC work is really important because it makes me understand what is the engineering team like? How on a day-to-day basis do they sort of realize their culture and how they work? What is the product marketing team like to work with? Like I have to live all of the stakeholders that my PMs have to work with. So every time that a PM comes to me often, because often as a PM manager, a lot of what comes to you is like escalations, like this happened, I can't like figure out how to get these people to work. Like I'm just able to tap into knowledge that's much more real. So I think doing IC work, or at least like really, really understanding everybody that your PMs are working with is key just for unblocking those like day-to-day tactical issues that come up, and also just building empathy for the team that you have. I also think as a PM manager, what you want to do, and this is hard, is sort of like set a clear vision, if you can, for like the product at a very high level. Like what is the relative like strategic decision or like direction in which we think this product should go? Can we talk about that? How does that break down across all of the PMs? How do the PMs feel about that? But that's the direction. And then work with the PM to say, how does that translate into the particular area that you own? How would you measure success? Like what measure encapsulates delivering customer value in your area? So set that direction sort of collaboratively. Agree to a measure of success that encapsulates like core customer value, and then sort of let them do whatever they need to do to like move that metric and that number and move in the right direction. I think it's really hard for a lot of PM managers to not go in there and be like, oh, I think it should be this feature, or I think this is how the solution should work. And you really, like, I always let the PMs that I work with tell me like what features they're going to be launching, and actually like in order to move that metric. And then I hold them accountable for the things I try to coach them on is like, how do you make decisions about how to pick the thing that's going to move that metric? How do you bring your core team along? I'm always setting expectations around, like, I want you to like take an evidence-based approach. I want your team to be aligned. I want you to bring along your stakeholders, because that's what I think is going to make you successful and make your product successful. What you build, that's up to you. And like how you build it, that's also up to you. So I tend to be pretty like hands off in like design reviews. I don't do design reviews. Like that to me is up to the like core team. I've been in organizations where everybody will get in a room with the product manager and like review their design. That's insane to me. So how they build it, what they're building, up to them. Direction and like measures of success, like you should be aligned on. Otherwise, they just don't feel empowered. The thing that I find really difficult about being a PM manager that I'm like trying to work on, but is really hard. And one of the PMs like said this to me the other day. For some reason, product management teams are really like product managers. And I've actually always hated this about being a PM. You work as this kind of like weird lone wolf-ish person. It's a very lonely role sometimes, I feel like. You know, you have your core team, and that's great, but everybody sort of has their functional expertise. And so I try to make my core team like my team, so I don't feel so lonely. But at the end of the day, I feel like designers have a lot of somehow camaraderie in the orgs that I've been in across design. Engineers have a very particular engineering culture. PMs don't often have like a very strong PM culture. I would love to hear from people who are like, oh, all of the PMs hang out with each other and we all go to lunch together. I have never been in an org that does that. Like PMs sort of like operate in their silos. I have always gone to lunch with like my core team. So building a notion of like what PM culture looks like and building cohesiveness across PMs is still a challenge for me. But I think something that like we owe ourselves and all of the PMs that are on teams with us. So that's it's like my advice, it's my plea, and it's like my quest, like all in one. It's like the thing that all the things that I'm trying to get better at.